Welcome back to episode 2. So let's talk about what I've been doing off camera. So I have been going at using this farm, and in the meantime, I'm back to 30 levels, but check it out. I got a full set of enchanted armor. It doesn't have mending yet, but it all has at least unbreaking 3 and protection 3. And then I also got a set of tools, which is very nice, and what we're going to need today. So my plan for today is I really want to work out making this place feel more alive. So I want to get more buildings going on around the coast. I want to get the fishing hut here, and I want to get a lot more just fine details and decoration, and that also includes finally sorting out the interior and fixing this mess that I made last episode. I mean, is it my mess if the rats made it? I guess I did make the building. So we're obviously going to need a lot of resources. So let's get to gathering. Alright, and we are back. If you look at the inventory, you can see that I have roughly 7.5 stacks of jungle logs. And I might need more, but for what I'm building, this is going to be plenty. Alright, we're back, and I think that this place is actually looking very gorgeous. As you can see, we have a nice little dock that's kind of jutting out. This is kind of where the turtles are, and I want this to kind of be close to the end point and then line buildings over here. Obviously get a bridge here, which I made this very temporary one, but you probably saw that during the time lapse that there was actually a bunch of skeleton horses and skeleton riders that jumped me, but there's also a wandering trader that spawned, and he gave me these pale oak logs, which I thought was amazing because I was originally going to use birch for the inside of this bait shop, but I really like for this kind of closet how this pale wood looks, because it just gives us this really nice sleek feel. Obviously we have the counter behind, and we have this kind of workstation here, and we are going to be decorating this using armor stands, but that's not for today, because I want to outline every single building here. We got some more building done, and check it out. We got ourselves our first actual little house here, and the angle is a bit clunky from the back, so I'm going to try and get some more structures around here, especially maybe one here and one at the tip. But overall, this is a pretty cozy little build, and if we step inside, we have so much stuff. We have a cutting board, we have a little smoker, we have a little kind of cupboard at the bed, got some drawers, and we got this toilet, I guess. But overall, this is actually a really nice place, and we got a little bed so we can sleep here. Alright, we're back, and check it out. We have got ourselves a very lovely start to our little jungle village. Now, obviously, I'm going to put a building here, maybe something even over there. But for what we have so far, I think we just need to do a bit more fine detailing, but I am in love with how the shape's turning out. And these palm trees are also very nice as well. Find other ways to decorate them, maybe get some leaf variety. But overall, this place is turning very homely. And on top of that, we have no interior in here, but we can definitely make things work out. You might have noticed that there are these little pieces of birch and sandstone, all these fences, and this actually creates a path for you to follow throughout, and it will lead to a pier here. And additionally, you can see the path continues around the back of this house. And I wanted to kind of also cut through around this house. And then once I get a bridge going, I want to connect it over to my actual house over here. There's also a turtle and a drowned in a boat here. And honestly, I don't know how to get either out, but I kind of like the idea that these guys are just friends now. I actually feel like recording this building so you guys can kind of go through my process with me. So first I want to start off with getting some more sticks, and I'm going to craft a bunch of spruce fences. While we're here, I'm also probably going to need about maybe 18 trapdoors. I don't want to use too much wood though, so I'm going to try and use my plenty wood types to get some more sticks. Now we can make some ladders, and we need to think about compositional framing. So I think I am a bit too far to the left. I want to smoothen out the terrain here. If I view the village from here, which is kind of the angle that's meant to be viewed, or even right here, you can see that the watchtower would fit perfectly in this central spot. So we are going to move back over here. One thing that I learned is that if you take these trapdoors, you can put ladders on this side. However, they get destroyed if you break the trapdoor. And this will extend to where the first layer is of the watchtower. I just quickly need a bit more spruce. And while we wait for the leaves to fall so we can get another tree, I'm going to start with a shape like this and trim the outsides. That way we kind of have a lighter inner part and a darker outer part, and that kind of draws your eyes inward towards the watchtower. So I've already started placing some slabs here, but I can also put down some trapdoors, and that'll just give it a little bit of extra shape. And we can continue building up our watchtower. I'm going to have a temporary crafting table up here so I can make some more of these fences. And I also want to get some fence gates as well. If you put fence gates like this, then it creates just a little bit of extra shape variety, and that's what we really need here. We can still take out the back like this, and we can install another ladder. Since this one is kind of directly touching on the edge, what I'm going to do is make some stairs, and I am going to patch that up. Something that we can also do is we can go to the bottom, and we can actually secure all of these, so that just makes it look like there's a little bit of extra support. I think, honestly, the key to making a good structure is to make it feel kind of realistic, in the sense that you don't want to make parts feel too weighted or too floaty. I'm going to take a little zoom out, and I think this part could actually be a bit taller, so I'm going to break all these logs, and I'm going to go maybe 2 blocks higher with the fences. And that also means we have to extend this up another block. Now we can repeat the same process here, and then also go back to slabs and trapdoors, which we need to make more of. Now this part is a bit clunky, but I think I can get away with putting a staircase at the back, and then continuing the pattern here. This part's a bit tricky, but I think if I just have a slab there, then players will be able to stand on it, and then I'll still be able to make trapdoors and continue the pattern around the back. And at most, I'm going to be seeing the watchtower from this angle, but even then, that doesn't look too atrocious. I think the big part of building this is that I have to constantly ask myself, okay, will this block actually make it collapse? Like, I'm thinking, is this an actually structurally sound building? Right now, I think I can add some support beams right under this third level, and that will make it look a bit more structurally sound. Now, if we add our pattern again, as well as a little trapdoor on the back, we can actually still climb over this, but it gives like a little extra shape. You can see that now we have a building that actually looks pretty structurally sound, and the only scary thing is that mobs can climb up here. But that should be a problem since this is purely decoration. To give a little bit of extra variety, I'm going to put one gate here, but then the rest of these are going to be fenced off. And then for this last bit, I think I'm going to go with a kind of almost cone design where the roof goes inward. And from here, I'm also going to continue the pattern out of these trapdoors. If we look here, you can see that it's looking a bit thin around the edges. So we can go ahead and add our little fences. And if we zoom out again, obviously once I take out that middle section, it's going to be hollow, but we have a lot more of a structurally sound looking building. And for the last bit, we're going to add a little spire at the top, and that is way too exaggerated. So we added the spire at the top, and if I get out of the way and zoom out, you can see that we have a pretty cool looking watchtower. The only thing I want to try from here is replacing these parts with stripped logs and adding some fences to the side. And hopefully that'll make it look like the building is supported a bit more. Now if we just clear up a bit of the terrain that's actually surrounding the building. The trick with removing terrain is that you still want to keep it looking like it can naturally generate. So you don't want to do something like this, or even something like this, albeit you can kind of get away with that sparingly. You want to make sure that there's kind of these unpredictable curves. Maybe it's 4 blocks, maybe it's 1 block, but either way, you want it to kind of look like this could have been here in an ideal world. And if you can fool people on first glance into thinking that your very simple terrain was naturally generated, then you've done a good job. Like this right here is very rough, but as soon as we just extend it a bit, just trim it out a bit and give it that more of a natural shape, and then use the leftovers to kind of then go inwards. You can see suddenly for this layer there's a lot better of a shape, and then we can also bring the curve a bit inward here. Now that the bracing's done, we can then take a little zoom out. And suddenly we have a very cool looking watchtower that's kind of overlooking our village. And this kind of makes it so we immediately notice the tallest thing. And then we see the lighter tones of the acacia, so our eye gets drawn across the beach, and it creates this really cool scene. So on top of sorting out all of these things over here in the tower, I also decided to expand this area a bit off camera. And as you can see from a distance, this place is looking really good. I might adjust the bushes a bit and their angling, but other than just improving upon the path a bit and getting the materials for that, we have a really solid little fishing village set up. Now, this building actually has a real proper interior, and this is because I actually want to set up some basic villagers in here. Because I don't want to have a trading hall that would feel a bit too forced, and I kind of want them to have a bit of free expression, and I think it would look nice if there were a bunch of villagers wandering around here. But now we have to actually go get them. So this transportation idea is very stupid, but you can't lead villagers, so I think you will be able to lead boats. Like this, and this is how we can get these villagers back to the fishing village. I'm going to take the bell here, and I'm going to quickly unleash these guys to get some beds, but I also managed to get 2 more villagers and boats, so that'll be all we need. So now I think I'll be able to just swim through the water and they'll follow me by boat. There we go. This is probably the stupidest way I've ever transported villagers, but it is honestly very effective thanks to this river. I think from here, if I build up a little tower, then they'll start to rise up the blocks. Then from here, I have to break down my door. And if I just pull these guys in here, get all the beds down here, rebuild all this back up and get the door down, put down the lecterns that I need, and break all these boats, we have villagers running away. I think they want to become fishermen. That's a problem. Why does everyone want to be a fisherman? New plan of action, we're just going to rinse and repeat, but with a twist. First thing we have to do, and this might be a bit of a mess, but we have to break all these barrels. Oh, there's so much junk. Let me check the deployment status. It's still not good. Let me start getting these barrels back. And now I think if I block off this door and release the villagers again, then they should start migrating to new jobs. Alright, so it looks like the villagers have converted, and I'm going to start, before I let them out, I want to actually try and lock in their own trades. Okay, this guy is just sitting on the ladder and not taking a job, so for now he's losing ladder privileges. I think I'll take this feather falling villager. So I will actually shut him in a corner while I sort out the other guys. I guess Silk Touch is pretty niche, so I'll keep that one. This is pretty expensive for Unbreaking 2, but I think we'll be able to purify him for a better deal. 12 Emerald Mending is amazing. That's exactly what we were looking for. I just accidentally punched my Mending villager, so now the prices are up. And I think they're up for all the other villagers as well. So we got all of these things back, and now all we have to do is get all these guys purified, and hopefully I'll get some better deals. Also, before any of you guys scream about it in the comments, I am going to quickly repair this right here. And I'm also going to prepare a nice door to keep them safe right here. And now they have a home that they can stay at. I already know that I'm going to be making a lot of people happy with this, but I have a little mini storage area now, and this is 30 double chests, and this will be expanded in the future if we need it, but I think it would be a safe way to end this episode off by doing a little time lapse where we tidy things up. Let's go! Look at me finally remembering to queue whenever I'm going to do a time lapse. So overall, this was very tedious because I had to kind of come up with how I was going to sort things on the whim, but you can kind of see me as I go on, get more familiar with the storage, and that helps accelerate things. Now, the reason why this took so long specifically is because I refused to use bundles for some reason, but also because I didn't have shulker boxes, and most importantly, I just have a lot of junk lying around. Like, I had 4 double chests in my base with a separate chest, and then I had all those barrels at the fishing village that I just kind of threw spare blocks and stuff in when constructing it. And overall, it was a massive headache and a massive mess, but I'm glad that I did it now rather than later. And instead of automatic sorting, I'll do it manually to prevent something like this from happening again. But that's all from me in post, and let's get back to the video. So I think my guys might have become zombie villagers. Which, if that's the case, that's a huge problem. Where are the other 2 then? Alright, I need to sleep, and I need to initiate a lockdown. Which does actually include this villager here. He is going to be sheltered. Alright, we're back, and check it out. We have got everything that was previously mixed up in all these barrels, both in the house and in the village, all concisely sorted out. And I'm just going to change that for consistency. But we have our kind of squishy surface natural blocks. We have our building blocks, our kind of more functional building blocks. Some of the stones, nether blocks, this is going to be for the end. We got our oak, birch, spruce, jungle, acacia, dark oak, warped and crimson, cherry and mangrove, and then bamboo and pale woods here. And then on this side, we have our ores, which the coal's kind of separated here, but that's because I need to compress it a bit. We have our kind of passive mob drops. We have our hostile mob drops. We have all of our different tools and armors. We have our crafting ingredients, which I'm going to take 3 bottles. We have our chest loot and stuff, which includes books, music discs, which technically this one was a mob drop, but I'm grouping it with the other music discs, and our banner patterns and stuff. And then over here we have kind of our crops chests, as well as some of our foods. So we're going to need some of these golden apples. Well, this apple, but we have all these different like seeds and stuff. We got the hay bales, we got saplings, we got leaves, even some moss here, which I guess moss could also go here, but I like keeping the moss blocks themselves here. And then I will figure out what to do with these extra chests when I need to. We can just grab some water out of here, get a little bit of nether wart from here, and we can start brewing up some weakness potions, which I don't actually need the nether wart for because we're not playing on bedrock. Then if we put some gunpowder on them, then that will turn them into splash potions. I'll also get a crafting table right in this central area. I think that'll make things more convenient. And I will actually take the time to craft a lantern here. that wraps the room together very nicely. And we can make our last golden apple we need and put the iron away. Now that we have our weakness potions, I'm going to put these in this kind of miscellaneous material chest. The reason why I got all this stuff is you might have noticed during the time lapse, but we had an infection breakout, where this guy was the only one safe. And if we head back all the way over to our villager house, you can see I kind of have the door blocked off, because all these guys turned into zombies. Now, what I'm actually going to do about this is I am going to break in from the back here. And I'm going to see if I can bait them all into one central spot, like so. Splash them with weakness. That's a problem. Just gotta grab what stuff that I can. Head back out. And I think that's all my dropped stuff. There's the hoe in the corner, but these guys, once they are purified, they will actually then drop their tools again, so it'll be fine. And now, at this point, I just kind of gotta wait around until these guys get purified. So I'm gonna dig myself in a hole and just keep watch. It looks like everything has been sorted out. So I think what I can do now is just dig myself out and go inside safely. So at this point, things are kind of looking up, because now we have a single book for an emerald. We have 1 emerald mending. And on top of everything else, 1 emerald feather falling. And if we head over to this guy, 7 emerald unbreaking 2. Oh, stay away from him. Now, I think it leaves this guy, the Silk Touch guy, to not give us a discount because he wasn't purified. But he can now safely return to his workspace. So I'm going to do a quick roll call. There are 2 villagers there, 1 up top, and there is 1 currently missing. It doesn't look like he can get out of this hole on his own, so let me try and carve out a path for him. The whole idea here is that if you put a trapdoor here, then players can walk over it, but due to villagers' heights, they cannot. So this should hopefully keep them all within the confines of the house. And that's a wrap for getting these villagers set up. We're just going to do a quick last harvest. And overall, I am extremely proud of the work that we did today. Not only does this part of the base feel a lot more lively, but this gives us a really good roadmap of how to make a bridge here, clear out this area, add some more structures around here, and potentially even around the right side. And hopefully this will make our little civilization feel a lot more alive. I'm also super proud of how the storage room turned out, with all these little chests and stuff, and how well sorted it is. Now, I will be putting some invisible item frames in the next episode, or maybe even off camera in between episodes, because I want to help newer viewers to understand my storage a bit more, as I can see how it can be a bit confusing at first glance. Plus, I do look pretty majestic from this watchtower. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope I will get to see you next time, where we will hopefully do some more building, and maybe even set up a couple farms or 2, and maybe get some other things done, but you'll just have to wait and see. Goodbye!